Welcome back to another episode of the Relationship School podcast. Hi.
Hi. I'm here today too.
Yes, you are. My beautiful wife. What's up? You look great right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So do you, honey.
Thanks. Welcome back if you're a returning listener, and welcome if you're new. We try to educate the world about this thing that we love talking about, relationships.
Yes. Very important stuff.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today, honey?
Fun.
Super fun.
We were going to talk about how some couples who embark on becoming parents and having kids feel like the relationship was good before kids, and now as parents it's not as good, or it's like a lot worse. And some of the trends I've seen there, and you too.
Yeah. And it seems like there's a couple different directions that couple starts to go toward. One is toward divorce.
Yes.
And I think we're talking about the people that stay together and find a way to make it work even though they don't like each other or they can't collaborate.
And they could also end up getting divorced eventually.
They could.
But they're not right now. They're just in this holding pattern of like, we're raising kids, our marriage kind of sucks. Oh, well.
Yeah. So let's kind of niche this conversation to that couple, which is we're not getting a divorce, we're staying together. And on the outside, it looks like to other people that we have a good relationship. You know, like, hey, we're still together after 20 years,
Or
15 years, 10 years.
yeah, kids are younger. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about people.
Oh, okay.
The hypothetical couples we're talking about.
Okay.
We've been together 20 years, 10 years. People are like, wow, you guys seem good and everything's cool over there. But upon closer inspection, things aren't good. They just divided and conquered early on, and they drifted.
Yeah.
And then they build up resentments.
Yes.
And resentments are still there and they're felt. And yet they're plugging away.
They're still just plugging away. Yeah. And I see this with couples with young kids who've only maybe been doing that a few years, or older kids, or they've been doing this now 15 years. And what I find so interesting is when I ask, well, what was your relationship like before kids? They're like, it was great. It was awesome.
We did so many things together.
We had a lot of fun.
We had similar values.
Yeah, it was easy.
Yeah.
And on closer investigation, sometimes they'll say things like, they'll notice like, well, we were really good at like doing our own thing. We were really, I've heard people say like, well, we were really independent people. We really like kind of had our own lives, and then we'd come together and have fun. Like we'd have, date nights or vacations or weekends, or we'd party.
Yeah.
And then we'd like both go to like our different worlds, or we'd work or have friends, and like it worked great. They loved it. And then they had kids, and all that changed.
All that changed because the kids, if you're not a parent yet or never want to be one, what happens to young parents, new parents, is there's an immediate dealing mode and
all hands on deck mode.
All hands on deck, and it kind of demands that you begin to collaborate in a whole new way.
In a whole new way.
And it's shocking to me how many of these people go through childhood still not collaborating very well.
Through raising their kids.
Through raising their kids, I guess is what I meant.
Through your kids' childhood, yeah.
Through your kids' childhood. And they don't collaborate well, and they somehow make it work. And how do they make it work? They compartmentalize, they blame each other, they shove shit under the rug.
They have really defined roles. They really like niche out their roles so they don't have any overlap, where they don't have to collaborate.
I raise the kids, you earn the money, those kind of roles.
You deal with the tantrums, I just go have fun with them, things like that.
Yeah, you're the good cop, I'm the bad cop.
Yeah, stuff like that.
I'm the disciplinarian, you're the logistical manager. There's all kinds of roles that co-parents can find themselves in.
Yeah.
And I guess what sucks and is sad about this, if you've spent any time around a couple like this, it's, to me, for me, given what I know about relationships and people and my relationship, my marriage, is it's very unpleasant to be around. For me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it's cool when a couple comes to me and wants help with that dynamic. Then I'm like, fuck yeah, I like being around you guys.
Yeah. But if not, you sense there's tension and there's resentment.
And it's the comments, you can feel
comments, people, they say things about each other, they're dismissive of each other, or kind of like scrambling for acknowledgement of each other. Like, it just feels, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. There's even like sarcasm, like sarcastic jabs.
Oh yeah.
And some of us like sarcasm, and that's how we connect. And one of our mentors taught me that sarcasm stops intimacy, and I agree with that mostly. And so when I'm around too much sarcasm too long, it starts to feel pretty bad, and it's like not funny. Mm-hmm. But it is amazing how even in a family, I'm thinking of, the kids will also kind of gang up on one parent, and they'll all sort of throw the other parent under the bus in front of the other parent, and that's sort of the family culture.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're such a whatever.
Yeah, we make fun of this parent for these qualities or ways of being or values.
And again, if everybody's having a good time and it feels like a sense of humor, that kind of dynamic is okay, but often it's not okay. Mm-hmm. They've just learned to tolerate it. If we were really honest, they'd be like, actually, that kind of hurt my feelings. Or this isn't actually helping us with our dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was kind of a little tangent, but relevant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. You were talking about how
Well, I'm talking about how a couple can start to collude into making it work, and then even the family members get on board. With looking like there's a good marriage going on here. And a good, we're fine. We don't have any problems. But you can feel that there's all kinds of problems. And when the kids are joining in on ganging up on one parent.
Or really dismissive or rejecting of one parent.
Yeah. It's like, no, that sucks.
It sucks. I know what you're getting at. Okay. So it's sort of like you can start to feel like there's sides, there's, someone doing all the work in one area, someone doing all the work in another, and that the couple does not feel good about this. This is what they feel like they sort of have to do.
Yeah.
And, what's interesting is it kind of makes sense if you were a couple that was really kind of had your own lives and were really independent, had your own careers. Like, this is a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Had your own friends, and you just sort of came together and went on fun dates. Like, that's not really learning how to collaborate and do complex life. Like, being married, let's say, a lot of these couples are married that are long-term partners and having children, requires so much. You're making huge life decisions with another person, like day in and day out, about where you live, how you raise children, how you deal with finances. There's like a ton of really complex and potentially charged topics that you are both invested in, care about, have your own interests. And so it's like all of a sudden you go into like marriage and family, and you have like really ramped up the level of decision, the high stakes of the kind of decisions you're making and choices. And most people, I think, not most, some get to that point and they haven't ever really collaborated as a couple on very much. And they probably didn't even collaborate that well on their wedding.
Right, exactly. The
like
woman maybe took over.
It.
Yeah, and the woman's family or whatever. Yeah, exactly. And so people, if you're not careful, you can divide and conquer. It seems to be kind of the edge here that the trap people fall into is, let's keep doing this independently.
Right.
I'll handle the finances, you handle the kids, I'll handle the hard decisions about, administrative stuff. You kind of are, and then the other partner starts to just check out of any kind of responsibility. They're like, cool, my wife has it covered. And so then it's like, I don't even know what's going on with the kids.
Right. That's definitely what classic way this goes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think in other words, they start to set up their marriage in a way that they don't have to learn to collaborate.
Right. Because it's hard.
Yeah.
And it's kind of quote unquote easier, at least in the short term, to be like, okay, you do that and I'll do this, because we can't seem to agree on how to do it together. Or like we can't come up with a shared way of doing that, or whatever. It's easier to quote unquote divide and conquer in the short term. But, I think for most couples today, that's not really what people want. One person doesn't always want to be the primary breadwinner and have all that pressure. One person doesn't always want to be the primary caretaker and have all that pressure.
Yeah.
And that both people, we can inhabit more roles and have more flexibility now that, we're evolving a teeny bit.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to figure out how to share that and do that in a way that feels good to both people. It's
really hard.
It's a challenge.
And look, I get the deferring and the divide and conquer to a point, because we've done that, right?
Oh,
There's
for
just
sure.
things like, okay, you're on dinner this week, or you're the cook of the house. Like that hasn't ever really been the case here. We both cook, and we've gone through phases where I cook more, and there's phases where
there was
cook
like a couple
more.
years where I feel like you did all the cooking.
Yeah.
But whatever, we've traded back and forth.
Right.
Things.
And there's something, I can't breastfeed, for example, right?
Right.
So there's some things that are just a given that you're going to do. And there's things I like, take the kids skiing. Ellen doesn't ski.
Right.
So we get it. Like there's going to be some independent activities and things we do that we just handle. But don't do that at the expense of learning how to collaborate and avoiding that. Like I just think that's a mistake, because I think, as you've seen in your own life, listener, that you can go through phases of life can get really hard and really intense and complicated. And the more you understand how to collaborate, I think the stronger you're going to be to meet those challenges as a team.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Hello there. I want you to imagine a career that draws on your unique ability as a relationship-oriented person, right? You might be a helper of some kind, as well as your capacity to be with your own stuff as you move through your intimate relationships. Imagine coaching people for a living and making good money doing that, and working on your own hours for yourself, being your own boss. Well, that is our coaching training program called RCT. We are enrolling and taking applications right now. And interviews have begun for our next class, which starts in September of 2022. So I encourage you to apply. Even if you're thinking about it on the fence, you'll get paired with one of our student coordinators who will speak with you and interview you to make sure you're the best fit, and you can ask anything you want. All right, here's what one of our grads, Matt, had to say, who's out crushing it, coaching in the world.
Right now I'm feeling very alive, and I'm feeling very connected to myself and to the people I've been on the journey with. And I'm feeling a lot more confident and a lot more capable and a lot more optimistic about myself, about my abilities in relationship, about my ability to be a better partner, to be a better father.
Okay, awesome. Matt is helping a lot of people. He's built his practice in Toronto, I believe, Canada. He's a dad, and the guy is a great coach. So please come check out our coaching training program, relationshipschool.com/RCT to apply.
And I would say that I think even what we did on some of those decisions, like let's say where you were really cooking for a couple of years, where I was like, dude,
yeah, you were just in it.
I was in it. And and we collaborated around that. Like it was like, okay, like, are you cool with this? Because like, I can't pull it together at 5:00 to start making dinner. Like I feel I'm like in deep with kids and breastfeeding and whatever.
And exhaustion.
And I'm like, I don't even care what we eat. So you were like, I care what we eat. I'm going to cook and whatever. We could even talk about how that was going or working. And when I needed to help with cooking more, that made sense. And all this is evolving. And there's also more important things. Like I've heard couples talk about like who are co-sleeping with a kid, and one of them doesn't want to, but is like, well, my partner does. That's how they're doing it. Like, and I'm like, wait, you don't, you want the kid in the bed, you don't, and so this is what
so
you
they just
decided.
defer. Yeah, you just.
And
Oh.
and
that's where resentment starts.
and then resentment starts. That could be a really big deal. Or one person's working and one person isn't, and the person who's working feels resentful about that. Is like, I don't want to be. I actually want to be more involved at home, or I want to be. I want to have more job. I have to stay in this job because this is the money we need, and I don't get to consider other ways of, other aspects of my career because I have to do this thing because this person won't, whatever. And again, if it's a collaborative decision, it's one thing. Like, things, we all have to figure, there might be a time when you don't get the luxury of changing jobs right away or something, but that couples just sort of like if they don't see it the same way, then they just sort of like walk away. And that's what I see in coaching and therapy, is like people coming in with resentments, and things have been set up in a way that have really left people feeling kind of hurt, dismissed, devalued. Yeah. And the partner didn't intend that at all, but they just couldn't figure out how to
and they didn't get help
together.
Right?
And they didn't get help.
So many of you couples out there don't get help, and that can be a problem when you don't know how to collaborate, because you'll just defer to your winging it in your default setting of doing it on your own.
Right. And just tolerating things feeling bad, kind of bad and tense and uncomfortable because for whatever reason you're willing to tolerate that. Yeah.
Another example is like I'm just thinking of in a traditional dynamic, mom's raising the kids, dad's working. And so naturally the mom might have a stronger connection. And so when the kids get hurt or have a need, they go to mom. And eventually over time, what I've noticed about a lot of dads in that dynamic is they start to feel rejected. And if they have a history of vulnerability there around, it sucks when I feel rejected, then I get resentful, angry, hurt, I withdraw, whatever. Dads can start to react slowly in a chronic way over many years without saying anything. So this is another example of not collaborating. Yeah. So she maybe doesn't even know that this is going on for him, and he's kind of stewing in it because he doesn't know how to express himself emotionally maybe. Or he just gets irritated every time the kids go to his wife for help, and he feels like the third wheel or something. Yeah. And then breastfeeding, same thing. He's like, I can't help. When the kid needs counseling, I can't help. You have the boob and you're comforting them, and like, I'm going to just keep deferring. We did a podcast on this, by the way, that issue, but anyway, it's these kinds of things that can start set up a non-collaborative environment where, okay, fine, you seem better with the kids around discipline and being there for them, and so I won't have to learn that, and I won't have to you'll never have to check in with me. Right. You can just handle it, and then we don't have to collaborate around anything. Right. And I can just bring home the bacon and we're good, but we're not good. Like Ellen and I are trying to say that the most of these couples that fall into this canyon of not learning how to collaborate, there's resentments, and it starts to really deteriorate the connection in the marriage.
Yeah, and it just makes sense that two people who had children together would be learning to collaborate better over time versus just avoiding that challenge, because kids are going to go through a lot in their life, and there's going to be a lot of decisions around raising them, and you're both invested in their care and well-being and development, and you both have opinions about it, and one of you isn't more right. Both your ways are valid, and it can be hard, I think, for people to just even accept that both our ways are valid, that there's validity to both. There's someone has thought about why, hopefully. Yeah. And can we together, have a shared understanding of what we're up to and what we're doing. And, I think parents can parent differently. Yeah. In the service of the same outcomes or hopeful outcomes, because we don't really know where it's all going with our kids. But, you can have different styles or different strengths. You will have different styles and strengths. You won't be exactly the same. And that can be really good for kids, to have two different people that are caring for them in different ways and helping the child develop a repertoire of ways of relating and being soothed and being seen and understood. And there's a lot of richness there that the kids are missing out on. And what I've seen also is as the kids get into adolescence and maybe start to have struggles then, if they haven't sooner, a lot of kids have had different struggles at different developmental milestones. But then that's the stress of that on the parents. It creates another like place just to argue. Mm-hmm. So a lot of couples come in for help with parenting, but really what I find is that they need support with that and how to be good co-parents, but also what has happened in their relationship that they don't know how to collaborate, listen, understand, and make room for each other.
Yeah, completely. Right? Yeah, they don't know how. And so we're advocating for this because if you just want to do it your way, then get a divorce and be a single parent. If you want to stretch yourself, then stay in the fire and learn how to collaborate. Mm-hmm. And if that still doesn't go well after many years of trying and learning how to collaborate and becoming a much better collaborator, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Mm-hmm. But at least you can say, I gave it my all. Yeah. And I actually got outside help. I read books. I learned how to collaborate. Mm-hmm. And again, collaboration's hard. Ask any sports team, ask any band, ask any, working team to really share ideas and share a common goal and then go after it with everybody feeling valued. That's difficult, on teams and
involves a lot of communication, a lot of listening.
Yeah. So one other plug for our view here, which is this concept I wrote about in my book, Getting to Zero, which is standing for three, right? I'm taking a stand for me, I'm taking a stand for you, and I'm taking a stand for us. And if we have this standing for three view, we will push ourselves to collaborate.
Right, because I wouldn't want to go ahead with something in our life that doesn't work for you,
or that's going to create a massive resentment, or
doesn't feel good for you, or is going to have you resent me for. Yeah. I don't want that for me, you or us. Yeah. And it's important to keep our eyes on those things, not to just tolerate them and hope it gets better later.
Yeah, so speak up. And one of the first steps you can do is just start to have a conversation about if you're in this dynamic currently with your spouse or partner, you can just bring it up and say, I'm feeling like we don't collaborate very well, and I'd like to learn with you. Are you up for that with me?
Yeah.
That can be a great place to start.
A lot of light bulbs go off for people there.
Yeah.
That they have something to learn and have something to focus on now.
Yeah.
Versus like focusing on the issue or problem. It's like, wait, let's focus on how we're talking about it and how we're treating each other and how we're listening and understanding each other. That matters immensely.
Completely. Yeah. Okay. I think we should stop there.
Okay, we should stop.
We could just keep going. Thanks for listening. And thanks for being here, Ellen.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And if you wanted a deeper dive on just how to collaborate too, Ellen and I created an awesome course, by the way.
Yes.
Called Relationship Upgrade. It's all about relationship security, the attachment styles, how to use your nervous systems together to create security and strength in a long-term partnership.
Yeah, that's a great course.
Yeah. You can go to relationshipschool.com/upgrade if you want to check it out. All right, everyone, have a beautiful rest of your day. As you know, I've dedicated my life to helping people with their relationships, right? I want to solve this problem so that all of you can work through your differences and have fulfilling, amazing, badass partnerships and relationships, family, coworkers, friends, whoever. And I have trained a ton of relationship coaches, almost 100 certified relationship coaches, to help you specifically work through your relationship challenges. So I want to invite you to a special deal we're offering to the podcast listener where you can get 50% off your first month of coaching with one of our amazing relationship coaches. Okay, if you're tired of therapy, it feels like that's going around in a circle, or you want to actually set goals and accomplish your relationship goals, hire a relationship coach. Okay, go to relationshipschool.com/get-coaching-now and then use the coupon code FIRST50 to get the 50% deal off your first month of relationship coaching. Super psyched. to have our amazing coaches serve you and help you get to the next level. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share one of these videos with a friend. We want to help the planet get their act together around relationships, and you are one of them, so thank you.